The minute it drops below 50 degrees, it's chicken noodle soup season. This is a natural fit if you've just made the stock from one of my earlier videos, and you won't believe how good a soup this simple can be. But if you're starting fresh, a good stock bought off the supermarket shelf can work pretty well too. Step 1, get yourself a big pot. Big enough to make a pot of soup in. 4 quarts or bigger. A lot of the time if you look on the bottom, it'll tell you. This one used to tell you. Set it over medium heat. Step 2, melt a couple tablespoons of butter in the pot. Then add 1 cup of chopped onion and 1 cup chopped celery. Give it a few stirs, move it around. Don't let it sit more than a minute. You just want it to soften a bit. If you read in a recipe somewhere to sweat your onions, it's pretty much this. Add a cup of chopped carrots. Any size or shape, doesn't matter at all. Just don't put a whole carrot in there. It's weird. And a ½ teaspoon each of dried basil and dried oregano. Next, you're going to add a ½ cup of dry white wine. If wine is confusing or otherwise not your language, look for a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc and don't worry about spelling it. The wine doesn't have to be stellar or even that good if you're only cooking with it, but anything labeled cooking wine is not the kind of thing you want touching your food. It's nasty, and as we cook our food down, the flavors will concentrate and intensify, which means bad flavors will intensify too. And you only need a ½ cup for this. So buy a bottle you'd want to drink and it will naturally go beautifully with the dish that you've cooked it with. Wine lesson is over. Let all that bubble and cook for a couple of minutes. You want this wine to reduce by about half. Keep an eye on it, don't let the pan go dry. Then you're going to add in about 2 quarts of chicken stock. This doesn't have to be exact. None of this does. That's the beauty of soup. It can be made with however much of whatever you have. Okay. Also add in about a ½ pound of cooked chicken breast. If you're not going by weight, and you should go by weight, it's about 2 cups chopped. I'm usually a dark meat fella, but for chicken noodle soup, breast meat has its place. Throw in 2 cups of egg noodles. Again, more or less is totally okay, depending on how you like it. But the trickiest part is last. Let this cook for about 10 minutes or so, just long enough to let the flavors settle down and get to know each other. It's not quite done yet, but it is time to taste for salt. I didn't tell you how much salt to add because I don't know how much is already in your soup. If you're making this with the stock I taught you to make in that earlier video, there won't be any discernible salt in there at all, and I'd recommend starting with a ½ teaspoon of kosher salt and going from there. But if you're using it off the shelf, it can be already seasoned and therefore your soup is already seasoned too. And here comes the very most importantest lesson I will teach you. Taste your food. Don't throw these ingredients together and let it cook down and then serve it up. Taste it right now, and if it's bland and lifeless, it won't get any better, I promise you. Add a ½ teaspoon of salt, stir it up, give it a minute, and taste it again. Is it better? Good! Not quite? Try another pinch, another ¼ teaspoon. But be careful, you can always add more salt, but you cannot take it away. So go slow and pay attention to your palate. Now when the carrots are cooked enough to not feel and taste raw and the noodles are done, the soup is ready. It just gets better with reheating, so feel free to make a shit ton and put the leftovers back on the stove tomorrow night too. That's it, that's chicken noodle soup. You should feel good. If you don't, have some chicken noodle soup. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. It means a lot to me and I do thank you for it. If I was able to help you in any way today, you can help me by hitting that subscribe button and throwing a like my way. Enjoy your soup. Peace.